Hey there, Smug Peeps. So I thought I would do this rather short video to discuss a huge bit of gaming news. Sony announced today that as of January 2028, PlayStation will no longer be releasing games on physical disc media. Everything will now be digital. So they announced, as consumer preferences and the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will now be discontinuing starting January of 2028. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This transition has no impact on games that have already been released or will be releasing prior to January 2028 in disc format. Now, as you can imagine, the response to this has been largely negative, with an overwhelming majority saying that this is a very dark day for video games. You are getting a load of comments like, "I'm done gaming," or "It's time to pull out my backlog of PS3 games," or "I was a PlayStation fan, not anymore." To say that Sony has become rather unpopular, especially in the year 2026 with some of the decisions that it has made, has been a huge understatement. Now, we had the issue with DRM earlier in the year. Players had discovered that there was a 30-day license timer attached to newly acquired games brought online. This sparked a huge backlash from fans that the users would be locked out of their games if they did not connect to their consoles to the internet at least once a month. And Sony didn't say anything for days, so that only made things worse. Now, they finally stepped in and eased fans' fears and said that the mechanism is only a one-time online check which will validate the initial purchase. Once the game's license has been authenticated over the internet during the initial period, players do not need to check in every 30 days and they can play completely offline without any interruptions. It was in effect an anti-fraud measure. It was brought in to prevent scammers from buying games online and then requesting a refund from PlayStation support and then playing the game offline to play indefinitely. Now, had Sony said something immediately when this DRM update had been applied, the backlash may not have been as severe. That is what happens when you don't simply communicate with your fan base. And just to add on top of that, it was also announced that after 20 years of support, Sony will finally close the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita digital storefronts starting this year, with Mexico and Honduras support ending in August of 2026 this year, extending to Latin America and Middle Eastern countries later on in the year. And as of July of 2027, all major territories including the UK and the US will continue to be supported up until then, and then it will be permanently taken offline. It really and truly feels like it's the end of an era, and I have to be very frank, I do not like this whatsoever. Largely, it's the discontinuation of the physical media that really gets me. Now, it has been obvious for a while, I'd say since the pandemic, that the industry was shifting to an online digital future, with more and more gamers buying their games online. Now, I have always liked the convenience of just being able to purchase online, cutting out the time it would take to go out and buy a game from a gaming store or order online from an eBay or an Amazon. But it was like an option to do so, and more crucially, it was finding a cheaper alternative because, let's face it, the price for a lot of games online is very expensive. And we live in an economy today where the basic necessities of life like food and rent and mortgages and gas and electricity bills are continuing to skyrocket while people's work wages stay stagnant. So buying a very pricey video game becomes a luxury that most people simply cannot afford. So if they can find a bargain, they will naturally flock to it. I happen to have experienced this myself, having purchased WWE 2K25 on disc from eBay, which I got for around $20. I played it as part of the PlayStation Plus subscription, where they do their monthly games that you can download and play until it is no longer available, by which you have to purchase the game in full. And with PlayStation Online offering $65 for the full game, I was not about to shell out that much. So thanks to eBay and digital media, I got myself a little bargain. And over the years, dating back to the original Nintendo and Sega Master System days, you could always go to a gaming store months after a game's release and get a game much cheaper than it was on release day. But with this announcement, there is no doubt the negative impact that this will have on the industry as a whole for years to come. Now, there could be a situation where you could buy from an online third retailer like eBay or Amazon, similar to when you buy like an antivirus software where you're paying for the online code, and that will be sold at a cheaper price than if you went online to the PlayStation Network. But are prices likely to be cheaper, or will they be just as expensive when the time comes? I personally feel that with everything going online, prices for games will become very expensive no matter where you go. Gamers who love to build up their collections of retro video games will be impacted. There are those gamers who simply love their physical media. Owning a physical copy of a game makes it yours forever to do with as you please, including giving the game to a friend to play on their system, which is something that quite frankly has been done for decades. The switch to digital games means you own a license to play the game, but you do not own it outright. And if the game is removed from the PlayStation for whatever reason, you lose the game and you lose your money. And I have unfortunately experienced this myself as I bought Burnout and Streets of Rage on the PlayStation 3, and then for some reason the games were just no longer available, and that quite frankly was blasphemy. You took away my license, then well, you should give me back my money. Now, I could ramble on and on and on about this, but I just wanted to get in on the news and just give my quick 2 cents on the major news. No doubt the gaming industry and the PlayStation will never be the same again, and with this 2-year wait until the change is fully implemented, is this foreshadowing the release of the PlayStation 6, which is set to be digital only? Now, could there be a situation where the backlash of this announcement will make Sony pivot and go back on their choice to make games digital only, and then include like a disc drive on the PlayStation 6 and continue making physical games? I would say at this point it's very unlikely now, given the rather firm announcement. So the future of gaming is already in somewhat of a tumultuous dark place, and it just seems to have gotten a lot worse. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier that on top of all the woe that Sony has caused this year, just to add even more bad news, Sony is permanently deleting 551 purchased digital movies and TV shows from the PlayStation Store from accounts in the UK and parts of Europe, and this will be starting on September the 1st, 2026, and this is happening due to an expired content licensing agreement with Studio Canal. So if you just happen to have downloaded the greatest movie of all time, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, in my opinion, well now unfortunately you no longer own it. And for your information, I do own a copy of Terminator 2 on DVD, so again, highlighting the importance of owning physical media. And if you thought Microsoft was going to step in and take advantage and be the hero, well, think again. Reports indicate that Microsoft's next generation Xbox, codenamed Project Helix, may also be fully digital and will have no physical disk drive. However, to accommodate physical media users, Microsoft is reportedly testing the Positron, which is a system designed to convert old Xbox One and Xbox Series discs into digital licenses. Now that may be okay, but it doesn't make things any better. I mean, where do we go from here? What will become of the industry with this change? Once upon a time, the future of gaming was bright and hopeful. Now it is expensive, unpredictable, and sadly very uncertain. If you've made it this far to the video, I thank you very much. If you liked what you saw, please give a like, share a comment, and check out my other videos. I'm Cayman of Smug Peeps Entertainment. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.